Hi, we're back now. A defendant sentenced to life in prison for shooting at police officers jumped out of his wheelchair and ran from the Bexar County courthouse.
Might be a story that you remember from a few years ago. New records uncovered by KSAT Investigates Dylan Collier show that the head of the county jail knew for more than a year that Antoine Foster could use his legs.
On Halloween 2024, a manhunt unfolded downtown. Shortly after, 32-year-old Antoine Foster was sentenced on 2 counts of attempted capital murder of a peace officer. He leapt out of his wheelchair, hit a Bexar County Sheriff's deputy, and made a run for it, forcing law enforcement to scour blocks of the San Antonio River before Foster was eventually recaptured. So why was a defendant who could literally run from the law brought from jail to the Justice Center in a wheelchair? To answer that, you have to go back to the summer of 2020. San Antonio police, responding to this Northside apartment complex for a domestic violence call, encountered Foster, who unloaded more than 20 shots at them using a handgun and a shotgun. Officers returned fire, striking Foster multiple times, critically injuring him.
Foster survived, and after a lengthy hospital stay, was moved to the Bexar County Jail, but continued to receive medical care as if he was paralyzed from the waist down.
Internal records show he was not paralyzed. In September 2023, 13 months before Foster's dash to freedom, a classification lieutenant informed jail administration, including Assistant Deputy Chief Joel Jansen and Deputy Chief Jennifer Shoemake, that staff had witnessed Foster moving about in his bed. Quote, "It appears that inmate Foster may be intentionally manipulating the system." Despite this warning, Foster continued to be taken to the courthouse in a wheelchair and without the leg shackles routinely used on inmates making court appearances while in custody.
I can tell you there's been no disciplinary proceedings involving any of the command staff in this case.
Sheriff Javier Salazar downplayed the email chain, telling KSAT he interpreted the exchange as a supervisor informing command staff Foster was now healthy enough to move to the main section of the jail.
The nature of that email was not, hey, we've seen this guy walking around and running around, jogging around the block.
And while it appears command staff will dodge discipline over this incident, BCSO officials confirm several deputies likely will not.
What's at the crux of this disciplinary case, although I can't give too many details on it, is that it doesn't really matter what condition somebody truly has.
He should have had his legs shackled, even sitting in a wheelchair?
Absolutely. We still have to take those precautions. Now, I can't say that these deputies will lose their job over this, but certainly there is a certain level of accountability that has to be ensured.
Dylan Collier, KSAT Investigates.
A dispatcher with the Bexar County Sheriff's Office was fired in March over Foster's escape. An internal investigation found that she did not communicate clearly about what took place.
So Foster is serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole at the McConnell unit in Beeville. Texas Department of Criminal Justice officials refused to tell KSAT what, if any, medical accommodations Foster is being provided right now behind bars.
Let's take a live look outside. 64 degrees out there. All right, so we can continue enjoying these nice fall mornings, although the mornings are getting just a wee bit warmer, Adam.
Yeah, both the mornings getting warmer and the afternoons getting warmer. It's a gradual ascent this week, and we peak on Saturday, and then boom, the bottom falls out again. So a little bit of spring, a little bit of fall. Kind of something for everybody out there. So gradually warming every day this week and peaking again on Saturday. Fog will impact morning commutes. I think Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Each of those mornings plan for fog, potentially dense at times, and maybe even some delays. Tomorrow morning we should be just fine. And our next front, it arrives right now scheduled for Sunday morning. Of course, the timing of these changes a bit, so check back in between now and then. But notice the afternoon temperature trend. Keep in mind the average high in the afternoon is 76. We're going to be 10 degrees warmer than that by Friday and Saturday. Some parts of South Central Texas hitting 90. On Saturday in particular. Then the front hits, and by Sunday, we're down to 73 for the high and then 60s for a high by this time next week. So from the 80s, back down into the 60s from that next front. Let's talk a little bit about the fog. So we don't have it right now because the air is still pretty dry, but the wind is going to shift and come off the Gulf. The warm waters of the Gulf are our source for humidity in the air. And as the surface high moves eastward, the clockwise circulation around it sets up that what we call return flow that comes off the Gulf and just boosts the humidity. Now, it's not going to feel tropical or too sticky outside necessarily, but meteorologically speaking, this is going to be enough of an increase in humidity to give us rounds of fog. And it's fog season around here in the sense that now we have longer nights. You know, as we approach the winter solstice, our daylight, it gets chipped away and the nights get a little bit longer. That gives fog a little more time to develop, and it helps. Every minute helps. So likely to have some areas of fog starting on Wednesday morning, probably through about 9-10 a.m. And that should roughly be the case daily Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, up through about 9-10 a.m. Depending on how thick it is, sometimes it can last a little bit longer in some spots. Notice when the next front arrives on Sunday, those dew points fall right off and really, really dry air moves back into place. Right now, upper level high, big blue H, the heat high as we call it in the summertime. Not exactly all that hot, but will be making us about 10 degrees above average by Friday on into Saturday. This, however, is also blocking any active weather from moving in. And there is some active weather out there. Near the Yucatan Peninsula, Cancun, and just offshore into the Gulf, we have this upper level swirl. This would typically have the potential to be a good rainmaker for us and would drift westward. Unfortunately, it's going to be blocked by that high. So you look at where all the rain is going to be, out over the open water. Last I checked, the Gulf doesn't need more water, but they're going to get some heavy rain. It just shows you that there are systems out there, but that upper level high, unfortunately, is blocking it. So we're going to be high and dry with a lot of sunshine going forward. So notice the mornings back up to 60 by Friday. So feeling a little bit warmer, not as crisp and cool. And afternoons well into the 80s Friday, Saturday. Then we see those temperatures fall off. And by the way, it should be a pretty gusty Sunday with this front, but the timing of these, they change a lot this far out. So check back in for updates on exact timing and exact temperature changes. But right now, by next Monday, probably low 40s in the morning.
Okay, thank you. That's the look of a Cowboys.
Well, the problem is now the Cowboys have a bye week next week, so they have 2 weeks now to reflect on what just transpired on KSAT 12.
Yeah, expected better from the Cowboys this week, and they're going to have to answer to those timely turnovers. The Cowboys dropped their 5th game of the season. Also, lots of BGC coming up. Best of BGC, 12's Top 12, and a preview of our game of the week.